All right. So you should be able to see this photograph here, and you'll see that I've circled some parts, and then I went to a thinner um, pen to try and circle without taking away from the detail. Because what I found when I started to have a good look through this was the some of the images in here were next to or overlaid with another image. So there were often sometimes two or three images within the image or imposed next to each other as well. So, of course, one of the main big topics of conversation about this was the monarch butterfly. Now, with the monarch butterfly, a lot of people are relating it to MK Ultra, um, and of course, nefarious meanings as well. But of course, as we know, with butterflies as well, um, they're about transformation, okay, from the caterpillar into the butterfly. And of course, when this portrait had started 4 years ago, he was not king, he was still the Prince of Wales, okay. And a lot of people are saying this is a pretty horrible photo or portrait of him, but I quite think that his face is been portrayed to be as soft and kind, which of course a lot of people will disagree with that, and of course so do I. So for some people who may know as well, King Charles is a proponent of eugenics, which is depopulation, and also the environmental movement, which he's been spearheading since the early 70s. And he is rumoured to be behind the World Economic Forum and the net zero movement that has gone across the world, and of course will create all sorts of issues in regards to farmers losing their farms, food not being produced, the blocking of the sun that a lot of people are noticing right now as well. And then of course, the nefarious side of that movement, the net zero green movement that's going on as well. And of course, anybody who knows who Klaus Schwab is and the World Economic Forum, and people associated with that, like Novel Harari, for example, then you will know that they're not, shall we say, here for mankind's benefit. Okay, it's more they believe that they know best of what's best for the world, and it's theirs to play with. All right, so we're going to have a look through. So I'm hoping you will see what I have seen. Okay, now you may not, of course, um, and of course some of it might be a little bit. Oh, she's grasping at straws on this one. However, if you look closely enough, hopefully you'll see what I see. Now, I'm not going to pull out the meaning of all of these things. I will just give a very general overview of what I think they are, as well, and you may not agree. You might see something completely different. So I sat here with a friend a few days ago, and we were looking, and she was seeing things that I couldn't see, and even when she pointed it out, I just couldn't get my head around it because I'd already seen something else, and therefore my perception wasn't switching over to what she was seeing. So I found that really fascinating. But on the whole, we were seeing the same things. So let's have a quick look through and get started here. So sorry, that is my name. I forgot to take that off. But they are interpretations only, and they're not necessarily the correct terms for the images that I'm going to point out to you. um, and again, the meanings of what these actually mean and why they're important and why they've been put into the layers of this portrait. Well, really only King Charles and the artist knows that. But before going on, the other thing I think to point out is there is no way an official portrait is done without King Charles's or any of the royals' utmost permission and knowing exactly what's going into it. Okay, so they are highly protected individuals in regards to they wouldn't allow an artist to create a portrait and put anything in under the layers that was detrimental to them, okay, personally. So whatever is in here, good, bad, ugly, and or dark, is a known factor, okay, as well. What they represent, who they represent, only they know. Now, in saying that as well, the artist and this portrait, quite frankly, he's a genius. Okay? The level of detail that is in here is quite phenomenal. Now, I'm not saying this is a beautiful painting because most certainly it is not, but the artist is a genius, okay, to be able to create this. The other thing also, I know you're going to want me to get on with it, okay, but when you look at Camilla's portrait that Jonathan Yeo did, hers is all grey, okay, quite dark, boring, bland. Of course, she is quite bland anyway, isn't she? But Charles's portrait is red, fiery red, stands out, hits the eye, you can't miss it. Okay, you either reel back or you go, oh, there's something not quite right with this, or some people like it. Okay, but the polarities in the colours used is phenomenal. Why would you have your bride's portrait done in all grey hues and then yours is this fiery red? So I think there's a little bit of truth to the fact that it might be about his ego, his arrogance, crying out for attention. He wants something that stands out and gets attention and even makes him look victorious within the picture. And after years under his mummy's claws, well, you can understand why he might be crying out for attention. But most definitely, when he has his brides, who, you know, most people aren't that fussed over anyway with her, when you look at him having her painting done in the grey and then his is red, it's like he has to stand out. Now, there was a little video that came out a couple of days ago showing Charles apparently on the mend getting into a car, and he gets in on one side of the car and shuffles himself over to the side where Camilla was meant to be getting into. Very unchivalrous, very rude, very arrogant, and clearly he's a misogynistic, arrogant, narcissistic. You fill in the blank. Okay. And that's who he is. So it's no surprise that this photo has come out in these colours. Okay, so let's have a look. So we'll start over, if you can follow my little hand there, and you'll see here I've got smiling man, head facing that way towards Charles. So you can see here there's a man's head, and it looks like he's got a decent head of hair, maybe a bit of a beard. So there's a mouth, a nose, an eye, an eyebrow, eyebrow, eye. Okay, and that's pretty distinguishable, right? Then within that itself, it looks like a tall person with two legs. So here are the legs, okay? And if you follow up just to the right of this hand, you'll see it's very faint, but there is a face here. And I wonder if I can just bring that up a little bit more for you. Sometimes bringing it up more doesn't necessarily show the detail better. Now, you probably won't be able to see anything but that face now, but try your best. So here's his legs, his knees are here. Okay, looks like he has a bit of a tunic on there, and there's like just a very faint outline of a head. Okay, who could that man be? I don't know, but he looks like he has a smock on. So who wears smocks? Is that the artist himself? Or is that somebody like perhaps like William Shakespeare, like a British well-known playwright, for example? Okay, over here to the right in this green circle, there's a bearded face, or what looks to me like the jinn, okay, which is the Arabian type of genie. Now, the royals have got strong connections with the Middle East, and so I probably wouldn't be that surprised that there would be a jinn in this portrait as well. And of course, jinns are used to, well, they're like a etheric sorcerer in a sense, aren't they? Okay. Some people say they're bad, some people say they're good. I think, like anything, it's about the intention that's used there. So you can see here the eyebrow, there's a bit of a bald head here, a bit pointy as well. Another eye here to the face's right, or our left, a nose, and what looks like a long type of beard. Now, some people might see in here, say, an old wizened Chinese or Asian elder, for example. Okay. All right. Next, the dragon head, face on, okay? And all I can see is a dragon. Somebody else might see something else, okay? So again, we've got an eye here, we've got another eye over here, a nostril, a nostril. We've got the bottom part of the mouth here, and then you've got some ears, or like, looks also like a bit of a horn or a spike at the top here as well. So to me, that's a dragon. What do dragons mean? Well, you've got St. George and the dragon, okay, which wasn't that long ago. Then you also have dragons represent wisdom, for example, and of course being a mythological creature as well. Okay, over here I've I've written on here a bull, because I can see that. It's very faded, of course. You've got an eye here, another little eye over here. You've got the ear, the nose, and what looks like the mouth. Now, I wasn't quite sure before whether or not that was an ear, so forgive that little loop there as well. Unsure what that might be. Then next to the bull's head here, I found what looked like could be a number of things. Now, I'm not into Egyptology, so you'll have to help me out here. I saw immediately what I thought was like one of those Egyptian gods, you know, the bird gods, for example, not Horus, but correct me, help me out, pop it in the comments of if you recognise it as well. So you can see here very distinct long beak in the eye, and then feathery type of head, and then also almost what looks like a body with long legs. The other thing I thought, well, could it be the phoenix? The phoenix is rising, okay? It's finally time for Charles to rise and take his long-awaited position, okay? Which is debatable whether he's up for that or not. One of the obvious things that was seen as well was a snake head at the end of the braiding on the royal braiding upon his uniform as well. Now, I'm just going to go down one side at a time, otherwise it's going to get too confusing as well. So I've been poring over this portrait for a good week, okay? Every day having a look, seeing what I could find, and I've probably missed some things in here. Okay, all right. The first thing, I'm going to show you the minute detail first, and then we'll look at the bigger picture, because once you look at the bigger picture, it's hard not to see it. All right, so we've got here a face, and it looks like the face that's seen, you know, the face in Mars that they often, NASA will show, pretending that they've been able to successfully get a camera all the way out there. So here we have the eye on our right, okay, an eye on the left, and nose, of course, the forehead, and that's about all we can see of the face, but it's an embedded face within there. There are many in here, many in the whole portrait. Why? Why would there be so many faces? Are these ancestors embedded? Are they demonic entities embedded? Are they memories of people that Charles knows or holds dear, or are they buried bodies? I mean, who knows, as well. So come up with your own conclusions. Some people who are highly intuitive and perhaps can do some channeling might ask that question. Okay, and please share it in the comments. There's a very large section here, and I've called it Jabba the Hutt, because it's quite a grotesque looking thing. Now, I'm sorry that circle is there in the way, but if you follow my little mouse hand here, you'll see there's an eye here, there's an eye here, there's an ear here. Okay, there doesn't appear to be much of a nose. There are huge, big, fat lips here as well. Okay, and a possible beard, and I called it Jabba the Hutt. Now, nothing in this picture is a mistake or an accident or just a coincidence. Okay, so we'll go down and we'll have another look here at who I saw as a knight. Okay, so shall I bring that up for you a little bit more? So I can't go too much, because if I go too much, you're going to lose the detail. Okay, all right, so you can see here there's a knight with his, what could either be a flat cap, but I think it might be king's crown, and he has a cape flowing out at the back. He has his armour on, which is pretty obvious, and then he has his legs in armour as well, and I found that quite fascinating also. Now, I've put those little dots there for something that I couldn't find again, so we'll just ignore those ones, shall we? Then I found a lamb's face. Again, once you see it, it's hard not to see. So you've got an eye, it's a cute little lamb nose, a smiley face, a chin, and of course his ears are out to the side. Okay, and again, lamb of Christ. Okay, now there is some rumour that some people do say that the royal family believes that they're part of a certain bloodline, okay, like the Christ bloodline, and that they are, the chosen ones in regards to that. So that could be why lamb's in there. It also is one of my interpretations that I think maybe why it's all red. The painting is red, and of course there looks like, particularly here over to the right, as you can see, quite dark splotches of red which look like splattered blood. Could that be the interpretation that Charles and William believe that they're part of the royal bloodline, and therefore the red represents that bloodline? Okay, so that's another possibility. All right. So in this one, the devil's face plus horns. So let me just bring that up. So see how it gets fuzzier as you bring it up a bit more. Okay, but from what I was seeing there, okay, now you might be able to see that a bit better. Oh, let's go down one. Okay, so there, eye, nose, mouth, and what looks like devil's horns. Now it is very faint, okay, but not everything is meant to be seen in detail, I believe. So the intention of the image in the painting would be their main point and priority, because they know it's there. Okay. All right. Again, another knight. This knight looks like a bit like King Arthur with his mail chain head dress helmet on, in a tunic with a breastplate, okay, as well, and some legs down here, or a crest, for example. Now, I see that as plain as day, but some people may not. The other thing, it could be like the Moors, okay, the Moorish people from Arabia, okay, from years ago during the Inquisition and the Knights Templar. Sorry, not the Inquisition. The well, you know what I mean. Sorry, I do get lost for words trying to find the right words sometimes. So when the Templars ran across to the Middle East to pillage sacred objects. Okay, so he's quite he's quite obvious, I believe. Okay, now we're going to go up here because I have circled this section. So when I was having a look here, and it might be difficult for you to see. So first of all, if you really look, you can see what looks like a witch. Okay, so there's a big eye, long pointy nose, and a round mouth. Looking out there. Then if you look at it closer again, the whole thing can look like a bedraggled type of cartoon character with hair and like a young man, okay, looking a bit worse for wear there. The other thing that I saw in here were people. Okay, so I saw people like they were in a cave, sitting down. There's a man here sitting, okay, and then there's his head, there's his arm, there's his body sitting on a rock, and there's his legs. And then there looks like muted type of people in here, like they're standing around talking. And here I did see an Arab, but I can't find it now. I can't actually see that now because now all I see is like a child, okay, like a little child here as well. So head, arm, body, leg. Yeah. The other thing that you can see is like a crow. Okay. So some of you might have already spotted this, might have been the first thing that you spotted. So we have the head, an eye, a long beak, okay, pointy beak, and then what looks like feathers. Okay. So is that a crow? Is it a face? Is it a scary witch? I mean, there's actually 3 or 4 faces in here, okay, that can be seen from different perspectives depending on how you look. And then, of course, as I said, I saw what I thought was people in there, okay. Up here, we will go to this one. Now, this one's not easy to see, and it does look like a blur, and of course, it's sitting right next to his badge. This is on his uniform, okay, so I'll just bring that down so you can see whereabouts that is, okay. So this is on his right side of his uniform. So again, depending on how much you bring it up. So there are actually characters here, okay. So what I saw was a person standing in there, another one here with what looks like a witch's hat. It's very faint, but there's a bit of a dark outline. So is it a witch? Is it a little goblin? Is it a sorcerer, for example? It looks like they're in the depth of a cave here. Again, you might go, oh gosh, she's really drawing at straws on this one, but not really, because if you look closely enough, this is what looks like people sitting down at a long table. Okay, so we have 1 or 2 people here, another one here. We have a man in a red hat with a red tunic on. We have another man here and another man here, and possibly one here with red hair, depending on how easily you look at it. Easily you see and how closely you look at it. Sometimes not looking too close is the key, isn't it? I thought this was a very interesting one, and inside the cave. So does this relate to the underworld, okay, or inner earth, for example, that we believe that these secrets are known by a lot of these self-labelled elites and people in power. Okay, so the other thing here besides that man that I saw with his head here and his shoulders and his long arms is also the face of what looks like a lion, okay? A lion or a tiger. And of course, Lionsgate is a huge energy portal time and around the 8th of the 8th. And I found a couple of different lions in this picture, okay, which I found really interesting. as well. All right. So that's an interesting one. Again, I didn't label it, and I think this looked like a lion itself, but it was a little bit tricky to see again. Once I saw it, I should have labelled it when I first saw it. Okay, over here to the left, you can see an Arab. He's facing upwards. Okay, so here's his turban here on his head there, and he's quite dark compared to the rest of the photograph and shaded so that there is so much detail in this. It's very, very hard to miss. Here's his eyes, his eyebrows, his nose, his mouth, his ear, and of course looks like possibly a beard, okay, or he's had his head cut off because he is on the cuff here. He's not looking too happy, actually. He looks like he's in a moment of distress or pain or war, for example. So is this representative of the British winning a war over the Arabs at some point in history? Because when I look at this, I don't see it as modern, I see it as historical, okay, and it feels old to me. Okay, in his hand here, we have a face as well. So we have two eyes at the top, a very definite nose, and a very definite mouth here. And of course, it has the depth there to show that top lip above the lip, giving it a 3D appearance. Now, that could be a face, or is it a lion? Okay. Okay, what I found very interesting, which is his right hand, is what appears to be a love heart. Okay, now all the other shadings to show the definition of the fingers and the knuckles and the shape of the fingers, sausage fingers, none of them have a heart. And I thought that was very interesting. So what does that represent? Okay, going on. We have a lady down here just next to that hand, a lady in red. She has dark hair. So if this lady in red had blonde hair, I would have said it would be Diana, okay? Because Lady in Red was sung for her. It was a song written for her. Lady in red, you're dancing with me cheek to cheek. If you remember the name of the singer and composer of that song, please do so. The other side of this is, again, I do apologise, I had put a line through there because it wasn't until I circled her that I saw him. And there is a man standing next to her, also in red, and he has dark hair, okay? And of course, so does she. Now, nothing in this picture is accidental, okay? So very interesting. So you might be able to see that the man in red with dark hair, who I think is Charles, and the lady in red, which she appears to have a dress on just below her knees, and she has dark hair as well. So very interesting. Now, some people are saying that Camilla doesn't like the portrait and that she's going to find a way to get rid of it. And is that because there's a number of women in this picture that do they represent Charles's loves? Okay. Now, he cheated on Diana, who was, he was punching way above his weight in regards to her. He had his secret lover, Camilla. And of course, I think she's just always been a bit of a dog's body for him, to be honest, but just accepting whatever. But were there others, okay, that some of us have never heard about? Okay, below these two people in red and the lady in red looks like a regal lord of some kind. And what I see is his head, dark hair, eye, nose, mouth, very strong chin, possible beard, but it might just be the shading to define his chin, and what looks like a white ruffle on his neck. So somebody from the 1700s or 1800s. Is it, say, a famous captain or a royal, for example, from way back when? So some people who know their history might have a bit of an idea as well. Okay, over here, there is a lady here as well, so, or a child, somebody kneeling down with a light blue cape on, and again, dark hair as well. Also looks like it could be a mother, okay, and here's a baby with, so there's the baby there with its little hood on, and its arms reaching up to touch his mother's face. Okay, and she's holding the baby in her lap. Okay, again, somebody with dark hair. Is it Elizabeth? Okay. Could the other lady in red be Elizabeth? Is that Elizabeth and Philip up there on just above this? Okay. Is this woman kneeling down holding a little baby, Elizabeth and Charles? When you look at it in another way, it also represents an elephant. Okay, so we have the big elephant ear, eye, and the big trunk. Can you see that? So see how I said before, different things look slightly different depending on how you look at it. And it could be two different things altogether. Tiny Napoleon. Now, I must have had it up pretty big to see that. No, we're getting too fuzzy now. We'll come back to that, but I did see what looked like a miniature Napoleon sitting in there as well. Okay, so you might be able to see the gremlin face. You might have already gone to that straight away as soon as you saw it as well. So this is what looks to me to be a gremlin, or one of those Sphinx cats with the big ears and no hair, which it most certainly could be either of those as well. So we've got the big ear here, the big one here, the eyes, the nose, and the chin. So a little bit of a freaky thing there. I found sometimes in some sections where you had streaks of light as well. In some photos, you could see a bit clearer, and you could see things like buildings, for example. Okay. All right, so let's move on. We have a screaming skull type of face here in this section. Okay, but then it's also the knight that I pointed. So you can see a bit better here. It definitely looks like a knight here and a bearded man's face. Okay, we've done the devil's face, okay, as well. We've done the lamb, okay. So here I saw a monk in a robe, okay. Well, think about the coronation as well. Let's see if I can bring that up if it's easier to see. Okay, no, it's not. Okay, I see a monk in a robe. You may not, and that's okay, because when I wrote these, I was working off the original as well. So again, as I said, much easier to see. Okay. All right, so I see two crows here, two hunched over crows. Here's the first crow. Here's its beak. Here's its eye. Here's its eye. Okay, and then there's its wings coming down. And then a second crow, a beak, an eye, and an eye. Okay, they look like little nefarious type of characters as well. Then here on the left, it looked like a bit of a dinosaur to me. You know, the dinosaurs with the big, not quite a horn, and I can't remember what type of dinosaur they are, but you can see it pretty much looks like one with an eye, a nose, and its face is quite specifically outlined there. So I was seeing that there. So these crows here too, they look like they're on legs, so they're like crow men. And again, a real paganistic type of representation there. Okay, I found an eye here, which was quite distinct, I believed. And then if you look at it, there's an eye, that could be an eye, there's a nose, and there's a mouth with a moustache. All right, so if you look at that whole picture, that in itself is actually a little bit freaky. Okay. Okay. This face here, little tuft of hair, okay, an eye, a nose, pointy nose, and a mouth. To me, I thought that was Prince Philip, okay, but he looks like he's got food in his face and he's got his mouth full there, but he is a bit of a pig of a man, so kind of wouldn't be too surprised there. Just let me come over to the face here, the shadowy face, which would also could be an elephant if you took that as a trunk, okay, as well. Let me come up. I did find something in here, right over here to the left. I just can't recall what it was that I did find. So some things I had circled, again, as I said, I circled them, but then I lost my interpretation. Oh no, that was a face. Yes, so an eye, a nose, and a mouth. So a bit of a dark face there as well. And there's a number of faces. You could use this as, say this is an eye, a nose, and a mouth. So again, two faces in one. All right. And not particularly attractive face. So that's why I think it might be a real pagan element here. Now, here you can see this looks like an actual doorway into a cave, okay? And now it might be a cave, it might be a chamber of some type. There's definitely a red door here, and I see a man, shadow man, okay? So is it shadow man? Is it a ghost, for example? Is it a spirit? And he's walking through, there's his legs, leg, arm, body, head. He's walking through the red door. Okay, so and then what I saw was a bit of a satanic face on the door, like eye, a nose, and a mouth here. But again, that's what I saw. Okay, so I thought that was really interesting as well. So see the detail that's put in here under all these layers that you'd never pick out in a million years just looking at it face on. All right, here's a man's face down here, eyes, and a nose. I found a man here. It looks like a bearded man with a little bit of long hair, and you can definitely see the shoulders here. Okay, who is this man? I don't know. Is it a Moor? Is it Jesus, for example? It's hard to tell. The other thing here, just up here, if you look closely, there's like striations, and it actually looks like a city, okay? And in some cases, stairs going up. See that? Stairs, right? Stairs, and then what looks like buildings or towers within here. So it could be anything really, but the other thing I also see is a face, okay, which is a pretty scary face. So eye, nose, and mouth. All right, this one down the bottom here I saw as three people at a hearth, okay, in front of a fire. Okay, so I see, I do apologise for that. There's a man here, looks to have a suit on. Oh, definitely that's a woman with dark hair and her hair up in a bun and a blue dress, okay. So that's those two, and there was a third person in here, which now I can't find. There also looks to be like a little person down here, which is way out of proportion to these two people. Here standing by what looks to be a hearth, could be a door, but there's a glow here. I'm assuming it was a fire. Okay, an elephant from the back end. Okay, so we have its rump, tail, its hind legs, and its ears. So there's been a few elephants in here, and of course, what do they mean? Okay, so usually they represent family, loyalty, communication, ancient wisdom. Okay, but don't ask me to interpret from an Eastern mystic point of view, because I'm not entirely sure. So if you do follow the Eastern mystic religions such as Hindu, etc., then you might have a better explanation of why there might be so many elephants in here. So please add them to the comments. That would be amazing. Okay, we have here, right, okay, we have another eye going on here. Now, I did highlight something here, and God forbid I've forgotten, but there seems to be a doorway here and some steps. So let's see if we can just pull that up a little bit better, see it a bit clearer. Seems to be a person here. All right, so this is, sorry, it's not just an eye, is it? Can you see that? Can you see that? Look at that. Two eyes and nose, and clearly I've covered the mouth over by my labelling and my drawing. Yeah, so it could be one eye or it could be an actual face. It could also even look like, again, an Arab with the cloth across his nose, okay, and just above his brow. And in this doorway here, you can see a very faint outline of what might look like a monk, okay, or a sorcerer, for example, somebody wearing a long robe right up the back there, okay. Now, it's not just a shadow. There's quite a lot of detail in here showing the depth of that tunnel, okay. So again, very interesting. All right. So this one here, here's the monk. Okay. So this guy looks like a little gnome or an elf, perhaps, again, going with the pagan theme and the druidic type of theme, and the nature spirits, nature animals, and this little guy definitely looks like a gnome to me. So he's got his pointed hat on. There's his face coming out from under his hood. He's carrying a staff of some kind. You can see it going all the way down. There's his arm, and here are his legs. Okay, that's as plain as day. Again, there are no mistakes, but for the life of me, I cannot figure out the three dots unless that is a woman in a bikini with wild red hair. Okay, who could that be? Well, it could be somebody. Okay, but then why would there be three dots unless that's showing her underarm? Okay, so again, very interesting. Okie doke. All right, let's go on because there's a lot to show. All right, let me just go. So we've done this up. Okay. The Chinese man in the red robe. Yes, that was interesting. Okay, let's have a look at that. Now, I've tried to just do it so to show where is he now? Isn't it funny how you see something as plain as day and then it disappears? Well, it doesn't disappear, it's just you don't see it again, which is why I tried to label everything for you and highlight and circle it for you. All right, I might come back to that one because I can't see. Oh, yes, I do. I do apologise. Okay. All right. So there's his head here. Okay. And then the rest of his body. There's his arm and his body in a red row. Again, there's another face here if you look at it from that perspective as well. All right. Okay, a man's face. Okay. All right. So we have another face here, what looks like a face anyway. Oh, too high and we lose. We've done the mother and the child. Mother and child. Okay, apologise for this. All right, that's not coming up that clear now. Oh no, we already went through these, didn't we? Okay, all right, let's just go back down and see where we're at. All right, we've done the heart. Oh, this was interesting. Okay, so in his left hand cuff, okay, so it's the cuff of his uniform here, and I found a face. Now, to me, it looks like Catweasel. Okay, Catweasel was a character on British, I think it was like BBC, the Catweasel character, which was, I think he was a bit of a pagan type of sorcerer type of character, but I mean, it's been the early 70s since I've seen it, so that's a long time ago. But when you look at it again, it could also be an anime type of representation of Diana. Okay, clearly blonde hair, short blonde hair, but then flicking out a little bit, but then her nose is kind of a little bit piggish, but very cartoon character-ish. Is it her? We don't know. All right. Then in here, I found a face with a pointy nose. Let's have a look here. Be going too high. Ah, yes, okay. Now I see. Some things are not straight on, you see, so you kind of forget. All right, so the face with the pointy nose. Right, so this whole area here. So we have an eye, very pointy nose, and a angular mouth. Can you see that? And then if you look at the whole thing as a large section there, it's always a little bit alien actually, as well. So that one's a little bit interesting. Now this one, this is debatable. At first, I thought this is a heart, okay? And here it is out in the open. So, however, I think we all know Charles doesn't wear his heart on his sleeve. So I doubt very much that that's the meaning of it. But it was like the heart and the ventricles there, or the blood vessels going off into the other part. But then I looked at it and I looked at it and I looked at it and I went, it also could be, representative of the vagina and the labia, okay, as well. It was quite a distinct kind of look. But then if you look at it again, it could be a beetle. It's got these appendages coming off it as well. So is it a heart? Is it a vagina? Again, who knows as well. But very interesting, and again, not a mistake, okay? Is this somebody's heart that he took, okay, and that he believes he owns as well? It could be that kind of nefarious type of attachment to these things. All right, let's go up. We'll try and go up through the middle. All right, a face, right? So a long crooked hook nose, huge brow, and a downturned mouth. So here are the eyes, here are the nose, and the downturned mouth. So again, not a very pleasant looking critter. And here as well we have what looks like a man with long outstretched arms, but he looks a little bit supernatural to me. Okay. As well, or are these things like, like a cattle skull and horns, okay, which sit just above this character's face, okay. Doesn't look, there's not a lot of emotion in any of these eyes, are there? All right, here we have another face which looked to me like a Greek or Spartan helmet. So if you look back through history with the Greeks and Spartans, and they wore the metal helmets that shielded their nose over their faces, or the Romans, then that's what that reminded me of there. Again, there's probably a whole lot of detail behind all of this that you might be able to see as well. Here we have another face. It looks a little bit like the Wizard of Oz, this guy. So we have the eye. These are like his eyebrows going up. Okay, and there's a big bulbous nose, and then his mouth is open, screaming. Here's his cheeks, part of his, because he's old, obviously. Looks a little bit like Winston Churchill, if you ask me. Bit of a fat chin, a few rolls of fat chin there. His chin's very defined there. And of course, Winston Churchill was no soft-hearted person either. All right, we have a Victorian woman in white here. Looks to me that she has like a white hat that they used to wear. Remember the woman, the girl with the pearl earring? Kind of reminds me a little bit of that. And a big white dress. Now, is that Queen Victoria? Is that, or is that a Maharaja, for example? Could be all sorts of things. Does it represent Diana? Is it somebody sitting down? Okay, look at the knees and the legs there. Are you seeing something different? Please pop it in there. Okay. All right. This character's interesting. And it looked to me like this person was standing up in heaven, like surrounded by clouds. Okay. And then here they are standing up. So a tall man, there's his head. Okay. And he's standing or sitting up on a tower. Okay, which is coming up from the earth, or coming up as is up in the throne room of heaven, for example. It looks quite ethereal to me. And I found this one really interesting. And there's a man sitting below him facing us. There's his head, his arms are out, say leaning on the top of his knees there, and then his legs go down. So can you see that? There's a lot of light coming from behind this man, okay, as well. So some illumination there, and we all know what that could mean, okay. Who are these people? All right. Looks like a cross here as well, all right. So, do they actually, does Charles and the royal family actually believe in heaven? Do they believe that they are the child of God? Do they believe they are God? Okay. Of course, we all know that that's a likely interpretation there. There's a lot going on in this picture, and I'm disappointed that I actually put the text over the top of this, because it looks like there's a ray of light coming through from the heavens here. And again, it could be that, or is it a cross? And then there's a whole lot of little rays of light coming through here. It's very cleverly done as well. So I'm hoping you can see that as well as I can see that. Here's a queen's bust. Now, this is completely unmistakable, okay? Once I saw it, I could not unsee it. It was phenomenal. So it's definitely a woman, and she has her head up in a very regal stately, shall we say, stately position. Some would say superiority type of position here. And she's unmistakable. Her eyebrows, her eyes, her nose, her mouth. But she looks fairly stern to me. And her hair is up quite high, like the Maria Antoinette days. Okay, so who could that be? Could it be Queen Victoria? I don't think wore her hair up in that type of style. So I'm no royalist, so maybe someone can enlighten us of who they think this person might be. Could be Diana. Maybe the hair's not so huge. Okay, it might be shorter. Who do you think? Put your opinions there yourself as well. So the other part with these two is, again, I think this was one of them where I actually found a city within possible where it's actually not a person, okay, but that there are stairways going up and what looks to be like a cave, okay. Again, does that represent the underground, for example, so on? Who knows? All right, now this is a button on his jacket, and I was seeing a face, a black person, okay, somebody from Africa perhaps, but very, very dark skin, or somebody from like Papua New Guinea, or for example, so with the very black skin as well. Thought that was really interesting. There's a bit of a grey hair here, so an elder, and the eyes and the nose, but of course there was also, if you look at it from a different angle, it looked a bit like Monkey Man, okay, like the Hindu representations of the monkey god, yeah? So if you go all the way around, there's a mouth there, right? So could it represent the monkey god, or could it represent an indigenous elder, for example, or Africa? That, of course, as we know, Britain colonised originally, and I've got a feeling they actually still own quite a lot of countries, even though they were kicked out or pulled out. They wouldn't just leave. Not an empire of that size that worked so hard. All right, I found a little Cupid's arrow, which looking on it, could it be Cupid? Could it, this little, can't quite make that out, but you can definitely make out the arrow. Okay, and it's definitely not just any old longbow, it's the Cupid's little arrow. Okay, again, someone might interpret that. Okay, again, this looks like the inside of a cave with stalactites, for example, and there's a doorway in here. Okay, a doorway leading in, and it's multi-leveled. This picture, multi-dimensional, and these looks like columns as well. Of course, they're representing the detail of the jacket. Okay, so going into here, I found what I thought was Merlin. Okay, that's too big. And it looked like from a distance, okay, it looked like a magician inside the cave. And you can see a very defined leg and calf muscle here, and what looks like a long beard, okay, and his head, okay, so it looked to me like a bit of a man. To me, I felt Merlin, okay. Another face here, but is it an angel? Is it a fae? Because I found a head, the body, and a wing, okay. And sometimes little elvins, pixies, and whatnot are only tiny, but that's what I was seeing. Now you might see other stuff in here as well, okay. And then things like this that represent like a mushroom man, some interesting stuff in here. Yeah, so the other thing I found was what looked like a tall ship. Now, some people might see a face because it looks a bit American Indian here. like an American Indian headdress for a chief headdress, okay, which only chiefs would wear, and then eyes, nose, and a mouth, and a bit of a beard. But then also what I was first seeing was a tall ship, okay. So a ship, there's its bow, or yeah, bow, prow, yeah, stern, whatever the case might be, front or back, and then the sails, okay, as well. But again, you might see something totally different to what I've seen, so go ahead and pop it in the comments. This symbol here, couldn't figure it out, okay. At first I thought, oh, is it male or female symbol? But it's like, well, no, if it is a male with a arrow type at the top, it shouldn't be crossing through. Okay, I think only the female one crosses through. So does this represent transgenderism, for example, which is being pushed far and wide across the world at the moment? Okay, interesting. Right, I'm going to show you something, and then I'm going to show you a secondary image in this one where it says 1920s man and woman. Again, very interesting. So much detail in here. You don't get so many things by accident. Maybe you'll get one or two by accident, okay? But definitely not as many. All right, so here's a gentleman in his black suit. He's looking towards the woman, and he has a top hat on, or a bowler hat perhaps. Okay, he definitely has a hat on his head, okay? And he's facing away but looking towards the woman, and here's the woman in her lovely gown, okay. She seems to have a red dress on which flows out. Do you beg your pardon? Throat's getting a bit dry now. And she has what might be a white stole over the blue top half of her dress or her skirt, and then she has dark hair and she's looking towards the man. Okay, all right, so isn't that an interesting one? Then if you look again, oh, have I lost it now? It also could be a face, okay, an eye, a nose. I'm not sure where the mouth is here, but look at that. So there are definitely two people there together, and on his left shoulder, okay. So is that the feminine side of the family, the matriarchal part of the family? Usually the left is the feminine, the right is the masculine. So who did these people represent to him, to be right up there on his shoulder? Okay, right, another little face, little kind of pagan animal nature spirit type of face there. Let's have a look. What on earth did I find in here? Okay. Oh, I have to come back to this one. Oh, okay. Yes, this was interesting. Okay. It seems to be a bit of a head here, with the square top, denoting some kind of headdress or headdress, perhaps maybe a like an Arabic type where they have the sides coming down. So it's definitely a face there. It looks like he's holding a sword, okay, as well. I think there was some other stuff in here, but we won't take too long, apart from possibly another man here with a white beard, okay, and white hair. Again, the detail is not standing out, but you can get an idea. And his right hand's here, his left hand's here. He's in red and white boots. Is that Santa? Okay. And then right next to him is like a little red demon. Okay. You see that? Right underneath this man. Right, so here's his head here, beard. Okay. Then very subtly is a subtle lion head. Can you see that? eye, nose, and then that line going down to the lion's lips, and then all of the hair, the fur. Can you see that? The lion's head? Right, it's another line. Okay, now this little red demon here just on the side of Charles's chin. Is it? Yes, it is. Okay, probably whispering in his ear, okay, telling him all the little naughty things that he should be doing. So I find that really interesting. But of course, it depends on what you believe. Okay, a set of eyes here, very subtle, again embedded into the painting like they're rising up from underneath. So again, a little bit freaky, okay? Again, the eyes, I think we already went through that one. Another face mask with big kind of duck lips here. We have another lot of eyes, nose and mouth embedded. Another one here, eyes, nose and mouth embedded. Like it's embedded into the soil like something on Mars. You know, it's quite fascinating as well. Don't remember what that one was. All right, let me have a look. Come up further. All right. Okay, eyes here. All right, so is it eye, nose? All right. And again, this one looks a bit like you know, like your pagan kind of green man, but of course he's not green. Okay, again, we've got a bit of a doorway here, like into a cave. Some of these are quite fascinating. And what's behind all of this? To me, it's like there's like little remnants of lost cities in these, because there's quite a lot of work and quite definite. If you look here, just under that doorway is not just a blob of a square. You can see that it's a 3D, a 4D. You can see it going in. There's depth to it. It's being painted on purpose. And there's a whole lot of lines, okay, that are definite in here. So what's hidden behind here? Is the universe? Is that the dark? Is that a lost island down here? Okay, is that Avalon with a castle on the island? Behind the clouds, is there hidden lands? Are these things represented? Okay, again, look at this detail. Okay, some things look like stairs. So I find it fascinating. I would love to see this close up. Right? Are these hidden lands behind the mist? Okay. Again, another cave or an eye of an elephant. Yeah? There is so much in here. It's amazing. All right, here we have another face looking down. Okay. Or is it a nose and a mouth? Okay. Mouth, nose, eye. Bridge of nose. Okay. Brow. See that? And the one eye, what do people say about the one eye signalling that gets done? Okay, so, and who is this man? Does he look recognisable? Well, he actually looks a little bit like Harry. Okay, he's got Harry's nose and thin lips. Okay, could be. Okay, okay, this guy, when we were looking at it, he looked a bit like an Australian Aboriginal man. Might have to take that out a bit because it's not so clear. As well with the nose and the mouth and the eye. Okay, can you see that? All right. So was that someone like Bennelong, for example, who was taken to England from Australia in the, I don't know if it was the late 1700s or 1800s when he went. I thought that was quite interesting. But if you can recognise the Australian Aboriginal profile, you can see that there's a similarity there. But also within that, you know, other things like other faces. Can you see that? Okay. Or even here, eye, nose, mouth, chin. Right? It's really quite distinct. Then we have again eye, nose, okay, mouth. Lots and lots of faces, right? And that one looks a bit more Asian or African, maybe Ethiopian type. But I'm no expert, so yeah. Okay, who's this little guy? Okay, I see this as a little person. Okay, you might see it as a whole, right? Again, who knows? Red hair, light top, and little dark pants. Okay, and there's some wings here. Is this a little fairy or a little elf? Can you see that? All right, let me take it down a bit again. All right, is that a little elf or is that a little Harry? Okay, or somebody else? Because we really don't know about Harry, do we? All right, that eye here, up here on the left, that's pretty mistakable, but it looks like an elephant's eye to me. All right, not so much a human eye. All right, how obvious is that? All right, next to the eye is a young boy's face, or is it a young Lilibet? Okay, as like 10 or 11-year-old. It actually looks like an old faded photograph. And I was fascinated when I found this. And I was like, wow, this Jonathan Yeo is a pretty clever guy if he can paint something that looks like a photograph as well. So this is what I saw. So I saw there's her eye and she's looking down. Okay, eyes are closed or looking down, eye. A nose, little upturned nose and a mouth and shortish type of browny hair. Okay, is it a young boy? Is it Lilibet in her youth? Did he idolise his mother, or was she so controlling that he was just under her control? All right, so here's my captain or page. Okay, so a captain from the days of the 1700s or 1600s when they wore those triangular shaped hats. Okay, and of course he has long dark hair. Is it a male? Is it a female? Okay, again, not enough detail to fully determine it. Who could that be? Right. So my mind went to someone like, the Paul Revere type of days, but then I don't know my history well enough to say who could be the English counterpart. Or, for example, this royal family weren't always in England, were they? They were German, etc., and came from different stock. All right, so this one here I felt was like a city, okay, and going up a hill to the main castle. Again, would need a much clearer pitch to really get in and see the detail of it. But again, it's very subtle. But those little white lights are to highlight certain parts. Some parts look like city walls, like you might find in like a castle in, say, the desert, for example. All right, so say Jordan or Israel, or is it actually a castle? Okay, and here you can see it's like there's a doorway and the lights at the end, so you can see that's the transition through that tunnel door, through that corridor door as well. What does that represent? Okay, do these represent kingdoms that they have owned and controlled for millennia or hundreds of years, or are they something else? Okay, but when you look at it this way, again, this could be like a face, and it kind of almost looks like the Queen, like she's being tortured actually. An eye, bridge of the nose, and her mouth. Okay, is that a man? Is that a woman? Or is it just a city and we're seeing stuff in there that's not really there? Okay, so if you get a really good quality picture, try and have a look at this. So this is, just to show you, right over on the very far side. Okay, some really interesting ones in there, isn't there? And they are quite distinct, some of them. So they're pretty much unmistakable, and others are, well, you know, what's in the eye of the beholder. All right, so I know you're all looking at this one right now, but go over to the right here. What do you see? Okay, it's a very distinct change of colour where he's used yellow, and it looks like a bit of an alien face to me. So with a very long nose, kind of looking down, an eye, a brow, and a very long, tall forehead. Okay, so what alien species would that be? And is there a connection there to, you know, the coneheads, all right, and that race, which again, I don't remember what race they are. Were they the Anunnaki or the Archons or the one of those races that they believe the Egyptians actually were, or that the Pope may be related to as well. So that's a fascinating one there, that I didn't circle because it couldn't be missed. All right, this here, is it just a smudge, or is it Pluto, or is it some little cartoon character animal? If you grew up in the 70s and the late 60s and early to late 70s, you would have watched a show called The Magic Roundabout. And The Magic Roundabout had a dog on there, and I actually don't remember his name, and he had a very long nose as well. So I just thought that was really interesting. But then does that represent a penis? Because it does look a bit like one, doesn't it? With the bulbous end there, and there's two eyes there. So it could be a penis and a testicle sac or a scrotum sac as well. Who knows? Because sometimes people are sick, and they will put all sorts of shit in photos, won't they? But then he looked a little bit like Pluto. He could have been an elephant. I don't know. That was a bit of a guess, that one. All right, so we've seen the man standing in there. We've seen the woman in the white hat, or it could be a child with a white hat, okay, leaning over. We've seen the Spartan helmet, and here we have the elephant with the eye, the trunk, the ears, okay, the ears over here. Again, could be anything. All right, and we're back to the heart. All right. So some of these were really interesting finds. Okay, here's the whole photo. Oh, Medusa. I missed her. Well, looked to me like Moses or Medusa. Sorry, my apologies. There we go. Again, very subtle. I mean, look at the layers in this photo. There's just so many. Now, this one was a bit of a tricky one. I'm like, oh, it's a wild guess. Okay, wild guess. How did I come up with Moses? There, okay, see that? The more you go, there we go. Again, it's subtle because these are not meant to be detailed sketchings. They're just meant to be symbolic, okay, or intentional symbols layered within the photo. So this is what I saw: chin, mouth, nose, nostrils, eye, okay, with quite a lot of hair. Is it Moses? Who knows? Is it Medusa with her head chopped off? Okay. Is it the Green Man? Is it the devil? The devil has been portrayed looking like this. Okay. So was it Moses in the Bible that has the two horns? Is that the right one? Forgive me, I'm not versed in religion per se, as in the detail and the characters. So the horned individual that looks like Moses in the Bible, is that him? Okay, so is this who they worship and represent, and who that represents. So isn't that fascinating as well? So overall, lots of characters, lots of paganistic types of characters, lots of oh, did I miss something in the middle here? Lots of Gnostic, Druid. I know we did already. Yeah, type of characters as well, and of course, you know, the British Isles, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and England itself has got a rich history, thousands of years old, in pagan, druidic type of characters, okay, and earth spirits, pixies, dryads, and so on. So what might look evil to some people, such as the green man face, or even a satanic looking face, or a goblin, for example, may not necessarily be a negative thing, or are they? Okay, is this where these people draw their power from? Well, who really knows? So, so that'll do for this particular video. I do have some more. I'll be doing a number of different videos where we look at sections. Let me just see if I can bring them up for you. No. Okay, so hopefully you should be able to see here. So I've got a number of different ones to bring forth and show you, right, where I've picked things out in detail as well. So we'll go through those slides, but they won't be as long as these. This one today. I apologise, I'm trying to think while I'm talking. And then, of course, the inverted ones, which are fascinating. The inverted ones bring up a whole lot of different characters and are very, say, Hindu-y type of representation as well. So do apologise for my language, but I had a moment when I found that character there as well. All right, so we are going to finish this off for today. So I do apologise if you found me rambling, but of course I'm looking and thinking and going back to retrieve my memory of what I found, how I interpreted it for you as well. So if you loved this video, then please like, share and subscribe. And leave your comments, please. We'd really appreciate it. Love to see your perspective on this. There are so many interpretations of this. Again, yes, it does appear to be quite evil and satanic, and perhaps it is. And that was my first reaction. And of course, you know, I had a few choice words to say when I first saw it. And oh my God, what was that? However, looking in more depth, I realised just what a genius the painter is. If nothing else, even if it is evil or satanic, well, surround yourself with golden light. You're much stronger than that. Okay, a painting is not going to harm you looking at it. All right, and protect yourself. You're a powerful, divine being. A painting cannot hurt you. Okay, so if you want to continue to take the journey with us to explore this painting, by all means, please come back. And we are going to do one on the Camilla portrait, which is not as detailed as this, but holds still a lot of secrets. And then, of course, our channel is going to move into other different directions, but we are going to focus on this for the very beginning of it. All right, beautiful people. Thank you so much for being with us, and we will see you soon.